Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to English Online. Today, we are starting a brand new series about something exciting, going on a trip. Traveling is not just moving from one place to another. It is an adventure full of preparation, experiences, and memories. In this series, I will share my own trip with you, step by step, so that you can learn English while following a real-life story. Let's begin with the very first stage, planning the trip. Episode 1, Planning the Trip. Planning a trip is one of the most enjoyable and also one of the most challenging parts of traveling. It is the moment when everything begins, when ideas turn into real actions. I remember sitting in my room one evening, thinking about the possibility of going on a short trip during the weekend. My mind was full of questions. Where should I go? Who should come with me? How much money will I need? These questions were the starting point of my adventure. First, I opened my notebook and wrote trip plan on the top of the page. I like to organize my thoughts clearly. Writing things down helps me see them better and prevents me from forgetting important details. I divided the page into 3 sections: destination, preparation, and budget. This way, I could focus on each part step by step. For the destination, I thought about several options. One was going to the mountains, where the air is fresh and the scenery is beautiful. Another option was visiting a nearby city, full of history and culture. I also considered going to the beach, to relax by the sea and enjoy the sound of the waves. Each option had its own advantages. The mountains would give me peace, the city would give me knowledge, and the beach would give me relaxation. I closed my eyes and imagined myself in each place, trying to feel what would make me happiest. After some thinking, I decided to choose the nearby city. Why? Because I wanted to explore new streets, taste local food, and learn about the history of the place. I wrote the name of the city in my notebook with excitement. The first decision was made. The next step was preparation. I asked myself, what do I need to take with me? I began to make a packing list: clothes, toiletries, books, a notebook for writing, and of course, my camera. Taking pictures is very important for me because photos help me remember moments forever. I also reminded myself to take comfortable shoes. Walking in a city means exploring many streets, and good shoes are essential. While preparing, I also thought about people. Who should I invite to join me? Traveling alone can be peaceful, but traveling with friends can be full of laughter and shared memories. I called 2 of my closest friends and asked if they wanted to come. Both of them sounded excited. We started discussing the trip together, sharing ideas, and imagining the fun we would have. Budget was the next important part. Trips always require money, and I needed to be realistic. I calculated the cost of transportation, food, tickets for museums, and some extra money for unexpected situations. writing down the budget gave me a sense of control. I felt calm knowing that I was prepared financially. At night, I sat on my bed and thought about the whole plan. My heart was full of excitement. Planning a trip is not just about logistics, it is about dreaming, imagining, and feeling the happiness of what is about to come. I smiled to myself and whispered, "This trip will be wonderful." The next day, I searched online for more details. I looked at maps, read about famous places to visit, and checked the weather forecast. Knowing the weather is very important because it helps you pack the right clothes. I also checked some reviews written by other travelers. Reading about their experiences gave me useful tips and helped me avoid mistakes. During the week, I continued updating my plan. Sometimes, I changed small details, like the order of places to visit or the amount of money I would spend on food. But the basic structure remained the same: destination, preparation, and budget. Each day, my plan became clearer and more exciting. Finally, after several days of preparation, I felt ready. My notebook was full of details. My packing list was almost complete. My friends and I had agreed on the date. Everything was falling into place. I felt a strong sense of satisfaction. Planning, I realized, is not only about organizing, it is about building excitement and preparing the mind for adventure. Dear friends, this was the first stage of my journey, planning the trip. In the next episode, I will share how I packed my things and how we got ready for the journey. Don't miss it, because the story is just beginning, and the best parts are yet to come only here on Engels Online. Episode 2: Packing and Getting Ready. Packing is one of the most exciting and sometimes stressful parts of preparing for a trip. It is the moment when you finally turn your plans into reality. Everything you dreamed about and wrote in your notebook starts to become physical. Clothes, books, snacks, tickets, and even a toothbrush suddenly feel like important pieces of a big puzzle. On the evening before the trip, I took out my suitcase. It was medium-sized, not too big and not too small. The moment I placed it on my bed, I felt a mix of joy and responsibility. Packing means making choices. You cannot take everything with you. You must choose carefully, and this is where the challenge begins. I opened my notebook and looked at the packing list I had written during the planning stage. At the top of the list was clothes. I started by choosing comfortable clothes for walking around the city. I picked a pair of jeans, 2 t-shirts, a sweater for cooler evenings, and a light jacket in case it rained. I also added comfortable shoes because I knew we would walk a lot. Good shoes can make the difference between an enjoyable trip and painful feet. Next, I packed toiletries. Toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, shampoo, a small towel, and some personal care items went into a small bag. I always keep them together so that I can easily find them during the trip. Hygiene is very important, even when traveling, because it keeps you fresh and confident. Then, I looked at the second part of my list, books and entertainment. I chose one novel to read in the evenings before sleeping. Reading helps me relax and fall asleep easily, even in a new place. I also took my notebook and a pen, because I wanted to write about my experiences every day. Writing is like capturing memories with words, just like a camera captures them with pictures. Speaking of cameras, I placed my small digital camera in its case and checked if the battery was full. I also packed the charger and an extra memory card. Taking pictures is one of my favorite parts of traveling. Every street, every building, every smile can become a memory to keep forever. I also thought about food. While we would buy meals in the city, I wanted to bring some snacks for the road. I packed a few sandwiches, a bottle of water, and some fruit. Traveling can sometimes take longer than expected, and having food with you is always a smart idea. It saves time, money, and keeps you comfortable during the journey. At this point, my suitcase was filling up, but I didn't want to overpack. Carrying too much weight makes traveling difficult. So I carefully looked at every item again and asked myself, do I really need this? If the answer was no, I removed it. In the end, I had only the essentials: clothes, toiletries, books, a camera, snacks, and a few personal items. After finishing my own packing, I called my friends to check if they were ready too. One of them said, "I think I forgot my headphones." The other laughed and said, "Don't forget to bring your charger." We all shared our checklists and reminded each other of small but important items like medicine, sunglasses, and travel documents. Talking to them made the process more fun and less stressful. Later that night, I placed my packed suitcase near the door. Just looking at it made me feel excited. It was a symbol of adventure waiting to begin. I also put my wallet, ID card, and tickets into a small bag that I could carry easily. Keeping important documents safe and close is one of the golden rules of traveling. Before going to bed, I double-checked everything once more. Clothes? Yes. Camera? Yes. Snacks? Yes. Documents? Yes. The feeling of being ready filled me with peace. I imagined the journey ahead, the streets we would walk, the meals we would enjoy, and the memories we would make. When I finally lay down to sleep, I couldn't close my eyes easily. My mind was busy with excitement. Packing had turned my dream into something real. Tomorrow, the trip would truly begin. I whispered to myself, "I am ready." Dear friends, this was the second stage of my journey, packing and getting ready. In the next episode, I will share the beginning of the journey itself, how we traveled, what we saw on the road, and the feelings we experienced when leaving home behind. Don't miss it, because the adventure is only getting better, here on English Online. Episode 3: The Journey Begins. The morning of the trip finally arrived. After days of planning and careful packing, it was time to step out of the house and begin the real adventure. The sun had just started to rise, painting the sky with soft shades of orange and pink. I woke up earlier than usual, even before my alarm rang. My heart was full of excitement, and my mind was wide awake with thoughts of the journey ahead. I quickly got ready, brushed my teeth, washed my face, and changed into comfortable travel clothes. My suitcase was already waiting by the door, just as I had left it the night before. Picking it up felt like picking up a ticket to happiness. I also carried a small backpack with my wallet, snacks, documents, and phone. Everything felt organized, yet my mind kept asking, did I forget something? At the front door, I stopped for a moment and looked around the house. Leaving home, even for a short time, always gives me mixed feelings. On one side, there is the thrill of adventure. On the other, there is the comfort of home. But then I smiled and said to myself, adventure is calling. I locked the door and stepped outside. The fresh morning air filled my lungs. The streets were quiet, and the world felt calm, as if it was blessing our journey. I walked to the meeting point where my two friends were waiting. Both of them had big smiles on their faces and bags in their hands. We greeted each other with laughter and cheerful words. Good morning. Are you ready? Yes. Let's go. We decided to travel by bus because it was comfortable and gave us a chance to look at the passing scenery. At the station, people were busy with their own journeys. Some were carrying large suitcases, others had only small bags. Everyone had a story, a reason to travel, and a destination in mind. I enjoyed watching them while waiting for our bus. When the bus finally arrived, we placed our suitcases in the luggage compartment and found our seats. The seats were soft, and the windows were large, perfect for looking outside. As the bus started moving, I felt the true beginning of the trip. The sound of the engine, the gentle movement of the vehicle, and the sight of the city slowly disappearing behind us created a special atmosphere. At first, we talked a lot. We discussed what we would do in the city, which places we wanted to visit, and what food we wanted to try. The conversation was full of laughter and excitement. After some time, we became quiet and simply enjoyed the view. Fields, trees, and small villages passed by like scenes in a movie. I took out my camera and captured some pictures of the landscape. The morning sun made everything look fresh and beautiful. Birds flew above the fields, and farmers were starting their day's work. I thought to myself, this is the beauty of traveling. You see the world in a new light. During the journey, we also enjoyed the snacks we had brought. My sandwiches tasted even better on the road, maybe because food always feels special when you're traveling. We shared fruit, laughed about small jokes, and even listened to some music together on a phone. The hours passed quickly, filled with simple but happy moments. At one point, I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. The gentle movement of the bus made me feel peaceful. I thought about how far we had come since the first moment of planning. From writing in a notebook, to packing a suitcase, and now, finally, being on the road, it felt like a dream becoming real. Suddenly, the driver announced that we were getting close to our destination. My heart started beating faster. Excitement grew in me again. I looked out of the window and saw the first signs of the city: tall buildings, busy streets, and colorful shops. The bus entered the city slowly, and I could feel the energy of the new place. Finally, the bus stopped at the station. We picked up our suitcases and stepped out. The air was different, full of movement and life. People were walking fast, cars were honking, and the smell of street food filled the air. We looked at each other with big smiles and said, "We are here." Dear friends, this was the third stage of my journey, the beginning of the trip itself. In the next episode, I will share how we explored the city, the places we visited, the food we tried, and the unforgettable experiences we had. Don't miss it, because the adventure is just getting more exciting, only here on Engels Online. Episode 4: Exploring the Destination. Arriving in the city was like stepping into a whole new world. The moment we left the bus station, we were surrounded by energy, sounds, and colors. Cars moved quickly on the busy streets, people rushed to their workplaces, and the smell of fresh bread from a bakery nearby filled the air. I paused for a moment, closed my eyes, and breathed deeply. It felt different from home, and that difference made me excited. The first thing we needed to do was find our hotel. We had booked it online a week earlier, but now we had to get there with our luggage. We looked at the map on my phone and started walking. Along the way, we noticed so many small details: old buildings with beautiful balconies, children on their way to school, and small shops selling fruits and flowers. Each street had its own character, and I felt like we were already discovering the soul of the city. When we reached the hotel, the receptionist greeted us warmly. She gave us the keys and explained the facilities: breakfast time, Wi-Fi password, and the location of the dining hall. Our room was simple but clean, with 2 beds, a small desk, and a big window. The view from the window showed a busy street full of life. I smiled and thought, this will be our little home for the next few days. After unpacking quickly, we were too excited to stay inside. We left the hotel immediately and began exploring. The first place we visited was the main square of the city. It was large, open, and surrounded by old buildings with tall towers. People sat on benches, talking and enjoying the sunshine. In the middle of the square, there was a beautiful fountain with water sparkling in the light. We sat there for a while, just observing life around us. Next, we visited a famous historical museum. Inside, we saw old artifacts, paintings, and even clothes from centuries ago. Each object told a story about the city's past. I tried to imagine what life must have been like hundreds of years earlier. My friends and I walked slowly, reading the information on each display. Sometimes, we whispered to each other, "Wow, this is amazing." Learning history while standing in the place where it happened felt magical. By the time we left the museum, we were hungry. So, we decided to try the local food. We found a small restaurant recommended by other travelers online. The restaurant smelled delicious the moment we entered. The waiter smiled and suggested the city's traditional dish. We ordered it, and when the food arrived, we were surprised by its rich flavor. The spices, the freshness, and the warm bread on the side made it unforgettable. Eating local food is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to understand a culture. After lunch, we continued exploring. We walked through narrow streets full of small shops. Some sold handmade crafts, others offered sweets and souvenirs. I bought a small wooden keychain as a memory of the city. My friends bought postcards to send to their families. The shopkeepers were friendly, often smiling and saying welcome. These small interactions made us feel closer to the city. In the afternoon, we visited a large park. It was peaceful, with green grass, tall trees, and a lake where ducks were swimming. Families were sitting on the grass, children were playing, and couples were walking hand in hand. We decided to sit under a tree and rest for a while. The park gave us a moment of calm after the busy streets. I wrote a few notes in my notebook about the day, while my friends took photos of the scenery. As the sun began to set, the city lights slowly turned on. The streets looked even more beautiful with lamps shining and shops glowing with colorful signs. We walked back to the main square, where street musicians were playing violins and guitars. Their music filled the air and created a magical evening atmosphere. We stopped, listened, and even clapped with the crowd. It felt like the heart of the city was alive and beating with music. Before returning to the hotel, we bought some sweets from a bakery. The warm cakes smelled wonderful, and we couldn't resist tasting them on the way back. Tired but happy, we finally arrived at our room. I lay on the bed and thought about the day. From museums to food, from busy streets to peaceful parks, everything felt special. Exploring the destination had filled my heart with joy. Dear friends, this was the fourth stage of my journey, exploring the destination. But the adventure is not finished yet. In the next episode, I will share the last and perhaps most emotional part of the trip, coming back home, reflecting on the experience, and the lessons learned. Don't miss it, because every ending is also a new beginning, only here on English Online. Episode 5, Returning Home. The last morning of our trip arrived sooner than I expected. Time during travel always feels different. When you are enjoying yourself, the hours pass quickly, almost like minutes. That morning, I woke up with mixed feelings, happiness for the experiences we had, and sadness because the adventure was coming to an end. The sunlight entered our hotel room softly through the curtains. My friends were still asleep, but I got up early to look outside the window one last time. The street was already alive, people walking fast, children laughing on their way to school, shopkeepers preparing their stores for customers. I realized that, while our journey was special for us, life in the city continued as usual. It reminded me that every place has its own rhythm, and we had just borrowed a small piece of it. We packed our bags again, but this time it felt different. On the first day, packing had been filled with excitement and dreams of adventure. Now, it was filled with memories. Every item I put into my suitcase reminded me of a moment: the jeans I wore while walking in the park, the camera that captured beautiful sunsets, the small wooden keychain I bought in the shop. The suitcase was no longer just full of objects, it was full of stories. Before leaving the hotel, we went down to the dining hall for breakfast. The receptionist smiled at us and asked, "Did you enjoy your stay?" We all said, "Yes, very much." Breakfast was simple with bread, butter, jam, and coffee, but it tasted special because it was our last meal in the city. Eating together, we shared our favorite memories. I loved the museum. For me, the food was the best part. I will never forget the music in the square at night. After breakfast, we checked out of the hotel and walked toward the bus station. The streets we had explored now felt familiar, like old friends. I noticed small details I hadn't seen before: the smile of a shopkeeper cleaning his window, a child waving goodbye to his mother, the way the morning light touched the old buildings. Traveling teaches you to notice these little things, and I felt grateful for that. At the bus station, we waited quietly. The energy of the first day had changed into calm reflection. Each of us was lost in our own thoughts. When the bus arrived, we put our suitcases inside and took our seats once again. The journey back had begun. As the bus moved away from the city, I looked out of the window. The tall buildings slowly disappeared, replaced by open fields and quiet villages. I thought about the difference between coming and leaving. On the way to the city, my heart was full of excitement and questions. What will we see? What will we do? On the way back, my heart was full of answers and memories. During the trip, we didn't talk as much as before. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. My friends and I simply enjoyed being together, each of us replaying the highlights of the journey in our minds. I closed my eyes for a while, and the images came back: the fountain in the square, the taste of the traditional dish, the sound of music in the evening, and the peaceful park with the ducks. We ate the last of our snacks and shared the last pieces of fruit. I smiled, remembering how those simple sandwiches had felt so special on the way to the city. Even ordinary things become meaningful when you are traveling. Finally, after a few hours, the bus entered our hometown. I felt both comfort and sadness. Comfort because home is always a safe and warm place. Sadness because the adventure had ended. We stepped off the bus, collected our bags, and looked at each other. "That was amazing," one of my friends said. I nodded and replied, "Yes, we will never forget this trip." Walking back home, I thought about the lessons I had learned. Traveling is not only about visiting new places. It is about learning to appreciate life, to value friendship, and to notice beauty in small details. It is about stepping outside your comfort zone and realizing how big and wonderful the world is. When I finally opened the door of my house, everything felt both familiar and new. My bed, my desk, the books on the shelf, all the things I had left behind welcomed me back. I placed my suitcase on the floor, but this time, I didn't feel the excitement of starting. Instead, I felt the peace of returning. That night, before going to bed, I opened my notebook and wrote about the journey. I described the places we had visited, the food we had tasted, the people we had met, and the emotions we had felt. I wanted to keep these memories forever, not only in my mind but also on paper. Writing them down was like saying thank you to the trip itself. Dear friends, this was the final stage of my journey, returning home. Every trip eventually ends, but the memories remain in our hearts. I hope that through this series, you not only practiced your English listening and reading, but also felt the spirit of travel and discovery. Remember, life itself is a journey. Each day is like an episode, full of small adventures and lessons. Keep exploring, keep learning, and never stop being curious about the world. And of course, stay with me here on English Online, because in the next series, I will share another exciting adventure with you, different topic, new stories, and more opportunities to improve your English. See you soon.